So yesterday, if you can recall, we talked about this model. Yi is equal to alpha plus beta xi plus ui. As I told you yesterday, yi is basically the dependent variable. For example, it is quantity demanded for a commodity. And x basically stands for the independent variable. Say, for example, price of the commodity. And ui is basically the random disturbance term. Now, what does this random disturbance term capture? Or why is it added? Because in economics, we have studied quantity demanded for a commodity depends on its price. Then what is the significance of U? It is possible that we have committed some errors. It may be in terms of specification of the model, it may be in terms of measurement of the variables, etc. It is expected that this random disturbance term will basically capture these errors. But logically, what we are trying to say here? We are trying to say if I stands for different individuals, then or say for example at different spheres, then basically what we are saying, to what extent variations in quantity demanded is explained by the price of the commodity. So for example, in different places, for the same commodity, different prices are charged. Here I basically denotes the place. When we go for estimating model with cross-sectional data, we basically use the subscript I. And when we use time series data, we use the subscript T. And for panel data, we use the subscript IT. Basically, in panel data, both the dimensions are captured. So basically, what we are trying to see here, to what extent variations in quantity demanded is explained by the price of the commodity or because of price of the commodity. This is what we are trying to understand. So we are trying to see if there is a relationship between quantity demanded and price, in the sense that if variations in quantity demanded are caused significantly by variations in price. This is the basic objective here to estimate this model. So one part, if you see, one part is deterministic. That is alpha plus beta xi. But the other part is random. That is ui. Now, if you just see this model, you can very well see yi has now two components. One is the deterministic part, another is the random part, probabilistic part. Alpha plus beta xi, it basically represents the deterministic part. And then ui is there basically for the probabilistic or the random component. And as I said, if I just change the terminology, instead of writing quantity demanded, if I simply write demand, you have studied in economics, there are many other factors. And if I just try to estimate a model only with respect of price, then the influence of these factors will remain uncaptured. And then this influence of this component would be larger, because the influence of those omitted variables, excluded variables, will be basically captured by this. So this is the basic objective of estimating a model. Basically, to understand to what extent variations in y are explained by variations in x or because of x. And to estimate this model, we make some assumptions regarding this random disturbance term. We have already discussed those assumptions in detail, and again we'll get back to these assumptions subsequently. But issue here is that we assume these, we estimate the model, we carry out testing of hypothesis, but at the same time, it is very, very important to ensure that these assumptions are valid. And in this course, as I said yesterday also, we'll focus a lot on this aspect to see if the assumptions are holding. If not, what type of remedies can be applied. But remember one thing, throughout this process of examining validity of the assumptions, what we'll do, we'll first estimate the model, and then we'll go for seeing the validity of the assumption. This is so because otherwise one may say that why don't we see the validity of the assumptions first and then we go for estimating the model. If the assumptions are not valid, then what is the purpose of estimating the model? So one may say that first it should be ensured that the assumptions are valid, and then only we should go for estimating the model. But here we will do it in other way, because these assumptions are about the random disturbance term U. And what we were discussing yesterday, U is unknown. We don't know U. Rather, we get an estimate of U, that is U hat, from the sample. So what we are doing, although the assumptions are made in terms of U, we will be seeing the validity of the assumption by using U hat, because we don't know U, it is unknown. And to get U hat, we need to estimate the model. And as I said, again, I'm saying a significant part of discussions in this course will basically focus on that aspect. Now, let us talk about this. Yesterday, we discussed about the significance of the population regression function. And we have also discussed about its comparison with the sample regression function, where from we are basically getting a distinction between Ui and U hat I. Now this U hat I, it depends on what? You can see very well what is U hat I. U hat I is nothing but Yi minus Y hat I. U hat I is nothing but Yi minus Y hat I, which is very clear from here. And Y hat I is nothing but alpha hat and beta hat into Xi, alpha hat plus beta hat into Xi. So Y hat I depends on alpha hat and beta hat. Obviously, U hat I, this residual, would depend on alpha hat I and beta hat I, because Yi is known. This is observed. From this observed values, we get the estimated value. Right? And this estimated value depends on alpha hat and beta hat. And when we go for estimating a regression model, obviously what we will try for? We will try for committing less error or minimum error, I would say. We will aim at committing minimum error. So we'll try to ensure that the total error committed in this space, that is for the set of observations, it is the minimum. So we aim at minimizing summation of U hat I square. I explained yesterday why do we minimize u hat I square, not u hat I? Because summation of u hat I is equal to 0. And also, if we just see very carefully, summation of u hat I square is nothing but summation of u hat I into summation of u hat I. So what we are doing in the process, by minimizing the sum of the square, we are actually assigning, in the process we are assigning larger importance to larger u hat. Again, I'm repeating, our objective is to understand the relationship between y and x, and when we go for that, we need to estimate a model to get the values of the coefficients, that is alpha and beta. For the population, these alpha and beta, they are not known. We try to get their values from the sample, and to get their values, we basically aim at picking up those values of alpha and beta for which the sum of the square of u hat is minimum. Basically, as I said, we are trying to minimize the error that we commit in the process. Very simple example, we'll say, for example, take any arbitrary combination of alpha and beta, or alpha hat and beta hat. So there may be infinite combinations of alpha hat and beta hat. But we'll basically that combination of alpha hat and beta hat for which summation of u hat I square is minimum. And that is actually the basic mechanism behind the method of OLS, ordinary least squares. See the term least squares. Squares means what? U hat I square. So we are basically minimizing summation of u hat I square in this method of OLS. So what we are doing? We are using calculus, differentiating partially this summation of u hat I square with respect to alpha hat and beta hat. And actually then what we are getting? We are getting basically two equations with two unknowns. The two unknowns are alpha hat and beta hat, and if you solve them, you'll basically get these expressions for alpha hat and beta hat. And these are called the OLS estimators. This is OLS estimator of beta, that is beta hat, and this is OLS estimator of alpha, that is alpha hat. There is a difference between estimator and estimate. Estimator is basically the formula. An estimate is a particular value that we get by using the data. So these are OLS estimators because we are getting these expressions by using the method of OLS, ordinary least squares. So the step here is you specify summation of u hat I square like this, and you partially differentiate summation of u hat I square with respect to alpha hat and beta hat. Then you get two equations and you have two unknowns, and you solve these two equations for two unknowns. You can try at your end, you'll be basically getting this. Remember yesterday I said that small xi is equal to capital Xi minus x bar. In the same way, small yi is equal to capital Yi minus y bar.
So why do we make the transformation? Like, why do we do that?
Basically to make it in a bit simplified manner. Otherwise, this formula will become quite big, and as you go for further derivations, it will become more complicated. Are you getting my point? It is just to write in simplified way.
So that's just a transformation, right? We applied.
Yeah, nothing more than that. So you can write it as summation of capital Xi minus capital X bar into summation of capital into yi capital Yi minus capital Y bar divided by summation of capital Xi minus x bar whole square. Isn't it? What can be written here? Okay, let me write. Just what I'm saying, capital Xi minus capital X bar into capital minus capital Y bar divided by capital Xi minus capital X bar this whole square. Actually, writing this formula takes a bit of time, but when I upload, I'll write it in detail. Sorry.
Okay, so understood.
Now, but your question is having another direction. I mean, I'll put it in another implication. Rather, can you tell me what does exactly this formula represent? Can you use any statistical terminology to express this formula? Anyone? Many of you have done the course.
Covariance?
Yeah. So basically, this is what? What can we write?
Covariance of x and y divided by variance of x squared.
So basically, cob of x, y divided by variance of x, isn't it?
X squared.
No, variance of x.
Okay,
No?
okay. X, yeah.
Just divide both numerator and denominator by n. Okay, and writing in small letter, basically in deviation form, actually helps in subsequent derivations. And that is why we are using this deviation form. And this is basically the expression for alpha, y bar minus beta hat x bar. Okay, now I am asking a very simple question to all of you. What would be the formula or OLS estimator of alpha hat and beta hat? Right? If I say, for example, change the origin of x and y. I'm just changing the origin.
Same.
Means I'm taking deviation from a constant. Say I'm taking deviation of x from say A and deviation of y from B. Any idea?
Sir, it would be same.
Beta would be the same.
Exactly.
Sir, beta would be same.
Right. But what about alpha?
Sir, it would shift from like the
It would shift
point.
by a minus beta b. Like
So it will change. It will change. So these are some of the aspects we'll be doing empirically, and also we'll have the mathematical derivation. Because this is very important. Often we may need to shift the origin of a variable or of the variables. We may also need to change the scale. And we need to understand how such changes would affect the OLS estimators. I have another question. Can you tell me what would be the OLS estimator of beta if I drop the intercept? Just looking at this formula. Suppose there is no intercept, there is no alpha.
Y bar by x bar.
No, I'm talking about beta. If there is no alpha, that means the line passes through the origin. Am I right? So what would be x bar and y bar?
0.
0. Then what would be the formula? Summation of capital Xi into capital Yi divided by summation of capital Xi square, isn't it? Just
Yes.
put x bar and y bar 0 here. Am I right? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
the
sir.
line passes through origin, it doesn't mean that the mean is 0, right?
See what is happening here. I am saying, so suppose there is no alpha. Then what is the expression? Yi is equal to beta xi plus ey. So you need to differentiate summation of u hat I square with respect to beta. beta hat, sorry. And as you do that, you'll be basically getting summation of xi yi divided by summation of xi square. That is what you are getting mathematically. Actually, why is that happening? Because you don't have alpha, means you don't differentiate summation of u hat I square with respect to alpha. Now you come here. What is the mathematical expression for alpha hat? Y bar minus beta hat x bar. Right? And your intercept is 0. Okay. So mathematically you can say that alpha hat will be 0, as somebody was pointing out, that it doesn't necessarily mean 0. But what is happening? Let us assume that x bar and y bar is both are equal to 0. Intercept doesn't exist. Here I am simply putting y bar is equal to 0, x bar is equal to 0, alpha hat is equal to 0. Mathematically, you may say that no, even if y bar is not equal to 0, x bar is not equal to 0, still alpha hat can be 0 if y bar is equal to beta hat x bar. Am I right? Hello?
So will it be actually mathematically possible if both y bar and x bar are 0 means?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, tell me.
I'm saying that, sir, you are saying that just assume y bar and x bar both are 0. So what will happen to the regression line, means the model?
Model will be basically here what is happening. X bar is 0, y bar is 0. That means your observations are not corrected for the mean. The observations are not mean corrected. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
That is why the
I didn't understand.
okay. We can, I think, shift to the board, right? I think there is a scope, no?
Yes, sir.
Whiteboard is there, no?
Sir, but please don't use the inbuilt whiteboard because it doesn't get recorded in the Teams.
Okay.
Instead, you could like use the whiteboard from the like inbuilt in your desktop or your computer.
Okay, that I'll see, but for the timing, just let us. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So basically, what I am saying that one line is like this with intercept. Another line is like this. Okay. Tell me what is the basic difference between these two lines? What is the basic difference between these two lines?
So the slope and the intercept.
No. That is okay. I'm basically talking about from interpretation point of view. Suppose this is y and this is x. Let us assume that y stands for consumption and this I'm basically referring to income. This one is income and this one is consumption. What does it reflect? What is this? What is this?
The y
Autonomous
intercept.
consumption.
Y-intercept.
This is autonomous consumption,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
So this much consumption expenditure one would be incurring even if income is zero, right? Now, I am trying to estimate a model. I am trying to estimate a model where there is no intercept, indicating that when income is zero, consumption expenditure is also zero. I'm not getting into the logical part of it, that whether this would be logically true. When I do this, my model is basically yi is equal to beta xi plus ui. Okay, this is what I am specifying. When I do this, then summation of u hat I square is equal to what? Summation of yi minus beta hat xi square, isn't it? And now you just differentiate it with respect to beta hat, and then you see what you are getting. You will be basically getting beta hat is equal to summation of xi summation of yi divided by summation of xi square. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, when you are getting a formula like this, and the other formula was, say, beta star with intercept, I'm saying this was summation of xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar sorry, not this one, divided by summation of xi minus x bar whole square. Now, if you compare these two formula, don't you see that when I am dropping alpha, it is actually making x bar and y bar 0? Just compare the two formula. Isn't it? Means here I am saying x bar and y bar 0 means basically the process is not correcting for the mean. It is not taking deviation from the mean, what we call mean corrected values. Isn't it? Just compare the two. Yeah.
So, but if I am assuming that x bar is 0, then I have to assume that x can be negative as well.
Which one?
Right. X can be negative as well, but because X can, if X is not negative, then how come the mean becomes 0?
What you are saying, that is true. Basically, actually you have raised a very valid point. I am just extending the line. It is possible. Mathematically, I am talking about. It is possible.
Yes, sir.
Now, here actually lies the fundamental what you said. In fact, in regression analysis, it is not suggested to drop the intercept. You have raised a very valid point, in fact. If I just extend this concept beyond the first quadrant diagram, then as you said, that if it is either it is not mean corrected, because we are not getting the mean here. You see, if I just compare beta hat and beta star, one is corrected for the mean, another is not corrected for the mean. Just I'm comparing.
But sir, how can we compare, because there are two different models?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. The way of computing these two are different, isn't it? Here it is basically correcting for the mean here, and then it is getting beta star. Here it is not correcting for the mean. Now what you are saying, I am saying x bar y bar 0 from that perspective, that it is not corrected for the mean. It is not taking deviation from the mean. Now what somebody asked, that's a very fundamental question. That what happens if I extend the line? Then the values will be negative. In fact, it is not a question of only that. There are many other complexities. In fact, many statistical complexities will also come in. What are the statistical complexities? Let us think of conceptually. See, mathematically, if I define a model, I shouldn't restrict myself to the first quadrant, X and Y. Mathematically, I can roam around all the four quadrants. But conceptually, what happens? Suppose, what example I was talking about, suppose this is consumption. Even if income is 0, can consumption be 0? Logically.
No, sir.
Second, even if, say, suppose production depends on labor. Even if labor is 0, no labor is employed, can output be 0? Yes. So when I'm talking about production function, ideally it should start from the origin. But then there also I use an intercept. On the other hand, when income is 0, then consumption will not be 0. Then also I'm using intercept because that is logical. But again, if I see the other part, say suppose my income is 0. I don't have any savings. Nobody is ready to give me any loan. How can I have consumption expenditure? So one is the mathematical part. Again, when we are saying that this x bar, y bar, they are 0, we are basically saying that they are not corrected for the mean. Or here the deviation is, here it is taking deviation from x bar, here it is taking deviation from 0. Here it is taking deviation from x bar and y bar. So we are basically taking deviation with respect to the origin. And here in this line, it is taking deviation with respect to x bar and y bar. In statistics or in econometrics, what we usually do, we don't drop the intercept like this. Rather, what we do, we estimate the model with intercept. We estimate the model with intercept and we try to see if it is statistically different from 0. Means when we are estimating a production function, just say Q is equal to a function of labor only, then also we are saying that there is an intercept, though we studied in economics law of variable proportion. What have you studied in economics? Law of variable proportion. It starts from the origin. But then also I will have an intercept. On the other hand, when I am writing a conjunction function, obviously there I'll add one intercept, though logically one may ask that suppose I don't have income, I don't have savings, nobody is giving me loan, how can I have consumption expenditure? In both the cases, we would add the intercept and we will see if it is statistically significantly different from 0. So we'll try to see if it is not different from 0 statistically. We will not make intercept 0 mathematically. Otherwise, all these conceptual problems will come in. Whether x bar is equal to 0, whether y bar is equal to 0, whether they are mean corrected, whether they are not mean corrected, all these issues will come in. Another fundamental issue will come in, if you can recall, when I am having alpha, I am partially differentiating summation of u hat I square with respect to alpha hat. And there I am getting what? Summation of u hat I is equal to 0. There I am getting summation of u hat I square is equal to 0. When I have alpha and I am differentiating with respect to alpha hat. If I am not having that, then I don't necessarily have summation of u hat I is equal to 0. When I don't have that equals to 0, then all these complexities will come in. I'll show subsequently. Just I'll drop this part. How to stop it? How to stop it? I'll just go to that segment. If you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. If I don't have alpha, I don't have alpha hat, means I don't have scope to differentiate with respect to alpha hat, and then I don't get this. And when I don't get this, this is not necessarily equal to 0. This is not necessarily equal to 0. So all these complexities will come in. So what we do in econometrics, we don't make alpha usually 0, means we don't usually estimate model with respect to alpha hat, with respect to the origin, means the line passing through the origin. Rather, we have alpha and we try to see if alpha hat is statistically significantly different from 0. I'll discuss further on this. And again, I'm saying that when I'm dropping alpha from the equation, actually it is not correcting for the mean. Means here in the expression, x bar and y bar are being treated as 0. So instead of summation of xi minus x bar into yi minus y bar divided by summation of xi minus x bar square, we are basically getting summation of xi into yi divided by summation of xi square. Is it clear? Is it clear? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
I'll just stop for a while and I'll take your reactions on what we discussed so far. Tell me.
So we just keep that variable, right? So